Hello, I'm Nick the Tool and I'm back to show you another product from Snap-on. This is a Snap-on combination wrench, and this particular one carries the Flank Drive Plus feature, which looks like teeth on the open end. But we'll come back to that in a second. When you're buying some Snap-on wrenches, something you may not be aware of is the work that goes into manufacturing these. Unlike the competition, a lot of the spanners that are out there are made of a sheet of steel, and the spanner shapes are punched out and then they're turned on each end to manufacture their wrench. These are a forged wrench, so we get a red hot piece of steel, slide it under a press comes down and stamps it out into exactly what we're looking at. What that does is gives you the right molecular structure, so you know it's going to be strong, it's not going to have any flex in it at all, and it's going to do exactly what it says on the tin. Now if you have a look how this is manufactured, you've got a 15-degree offset here, so when you're using the box end of the wrench you've got plenty of clearance for your knuckles. The broaching on here is actually offset 7.5 degrees, and that feature is also on this end of the wrench, and that's a very specific degree of angle. The reason that's done is when you're using a Snap-on wrench you can always turn over and get a second bite on the bolt or the nut that you're trying to undo, and that works on both ends of the wrench. So unlike the competition where you start doing this trying to turn the nut, you will always be able to get straight back on with a Snap-on wrench. If you look at the teeth on here and you also look at the box design here, you'll notice the teeth look like they're there for grip. This is our Flank Drive Plus system, and the way it works is the corners of the fastener, the nut or the bolt, drop into the holes within the jaw, which enables the wrench to bite on the flat of the nut rather than on the corner like a conventional wrench. That means that these will give you between 15 and 20% more turning power on this end and 62% more turning power on this end. So if your fastener is very tight, you're less likely to round it off if you're putting a lot of load on it, but if it's already been chewed up by somebody else, you're still very likely to be able to undo it with a Flank Drive Plus spanner or wrench. If you look at the design on here, there's a leading edge on both faces. So when you drop it onto the fastener it locates very, very quickly. It's also concentrically broached. So this is cold broached, forced through to create the shape, and the wall thickness is exactly the same size all the way around. If you line up a lot of different wrenches on the market, you will notice that this shape changes, where the Snap-on ones are broached with precision. If you were to pass a hexagon bar through about 20 Snap-on wrenches, you'll find that they all sit at exactly the same angle because they're broached to precision. If you look at this end of the wrench, you'll notice it has a continuous arc design. If you were to lay this wrench down on a piece of paper and draw around that arc, you would have the perfect circle. That means that the load across the jaws is spread down the shank of the wrench, which means there's less chance of the jaws flicking apart. With your cheaper wrenches, you put a load of power on and in a microsecond they just flick apart, it rounds the nut and leaves you struggling to undo the fastener. It's very unlikely to happen with a Snap-on wrench. Some of our competition will make a hexagon shape here and tell you that the wrench bites on 4 different sizes. This is a complete myth. It will only ever bite on the 2 faces. If you look at the tip of the wrench, you'll also notice there's a leading edge this end. So unlike a lot of wrenches you try to put on the fastener, this will go on a lot faster and find its location very quickly. If you look at the markings, it's marked with a size very clearly, and top and tail on both ends of the wrench. So whenever you pick it up or it's lying on the bench, you know exactly what wrench you're picking up. It's clearly marked with the Snap-on brand in the middle, so you know it's your wrench, and it's finished in a high luster chrome, which makes it almost look like a piece of jewellery. So if you're looking for some wrenches and you want to invest in something that's going to work well, stand the test of time, and really do what it says on the tin, then you need some Snap-on wrenches.